I'm here with John Walters of Lee's Water in Princeton, Illinois. And I asked John some time ago, John, let's do a video on water because I think water is a pretty important thing. Actually, I learned that lesson and I kind of learned it the hard way.
Right.
Hard water, no pun intended. But anyway, well, John, I'll just start this off with why is water quality so important?
Well, if you don't have good water, it can take an effect on all your appliances in your home that use water. Your laundry even can be affected by it. And then it can affect your health, your kids' health, your animals' health. There's just so much in water that is not good for people that if you don't know about it, you could be having problems that could be easily solved.
Well, how do we know, if our water actually does need treatment? What are the telltale signs of gosh, I don't know why we're having this happen. What are those things?
Well, your biggest thing is, if you have rust stains in your water, that's not good. If there's a foul odor to your water, if you're getting white calcium buildups on your appliances, if your dishes aren't coming clean, them are the easiest ways to tell. From there, you can go into, getting a water test done on different things to see what all is actually in your water and at what levels they are in case they need to be treated.
Let me ask you a little specifically. You mentioned laundry. So how would you know? You said, okay, well, hey, my laundry, is the laundry not going to be, are the whites not going to be white? Are you going to have a smell? I mean, what kind of things with laundry? And I know dishes, you'll get spots. Of course, that's pretty evident. But laundry, how would you know?
Right. Well, with the laundry, yeah, the whites will be dingy or even rust stained yellowish orange. Towels and stuff like that. Once you use them a time or two, if they start getting a foul odor, that there's something in your water that's not rinsing out completely, letting the soaps rinse out.
Okay. So there can be an order with the laundry. Okay. That's good.
Yep.
All right. So you mentioned water. What type of water treatments are there? And then explain, if you would, how each one of them works.
Yeah, there's several different styles and types of treatment. You can start with your basic sediment filtration filters that are changeable cartridges. Then you go into your iron filtration, sulfur filtration. That's rust staining and rotten egg odor in the water.
Okay. Let's go backwards for a second. You mentioned sediment filters. So you could have dirt or just dirt or is there sand, I suppose, probably in some of the water?
Yeah, you can get dirt, sand. We've had gravel. They got really fine sand. It's called silica sand or flour sand. Yeah.
And those are the filters with the clear, I don't know, what do you call them? Not glass, but they're plastic. That you can see.
Yeah. You can see in them and see when they need changed and how much stuff's filling up in them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And how many? I think we had those here, if I remember correctly, didn't I?
You did.
There were two of them.
Yep. Okay. You had two different micron ratings, which is what size it filters down to. The micron rating, the smaller the micron, the more it'll filter out. So, standard is 20 to 30 micron, but you can get clear down to 0.1 micron filtration.
Okay.
But yeah,
I think there was a reason we had to do the other one too, the smaller one. But we'll get into that, I think, in a minute here. But yeah. So you said the first thing is the filters, the sediment filters.
Yep.
And then next would be what?
The iron filtration backwash units, sulfur filtration backwash units. That'll get rid of your rotten egg odor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. And then your iron staining, the rusty orange stains you get built up. And then from there you go to the water softener or water conditioner, and that'll remove the calcium, lime, and iron out of the water.
So this is a lesson that I had to learn because I thought that a water softener took out the iron and the calcium, the lime, but it doesn't, you said, right?
Well, it does. The softener will do calcium and iron and lime.
Okay.
But the softener resin is only designed to a certain amount of part per million of iron that it can pull out.
Small amount, in other words. Okay.
So once you get to a really high number of iron, it won't pull it out effectively. You'll need additional filtration.
So that's when you're going to your iron filter that we talked about. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right.
From there, you can go into ultraviolet light, which can kill bacteria. Then you've got your chlorination systems that inject chlorine to kill bacteria, oxidizes the iron, the sulfur, all that in the water back into a solid to be pulled out. And then you can get clear up into whole home RO systems, reverse osmosis. If you have really bad water, you can go into that.
Okay, let's go back to ultraviolet. Why would anyone want or need an ultraviolet system? In what situation?
Mainly it's a cost thing. You go with that instead of a big elaborate system if you have any bacteria in the water.
I mean, this is for drinking water, right? This isn't for like, if you're not going to use an ultraviolet on water you're going to use for your toilet or your shower, or your laundry, are you?
Oh yeah,
you do.
It's a whole helm system.
Oh,
you
really?
feed all the water through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you change the bulb generally once a year, but it'll kill E. coli and coliform bacteria, so that way you don't have to do chlorine injection. So if you don't have iron or any of that, it's an effective way of treating it and getting it taken care of.
And I think that's what we had the second filter for in my house was it 0.05 microns?
Yep.
Because that light, you need to filter all the sediment out before it enters that light chamber. Yeah.
Because that'll build up on the light sleeve, and then it cuts down how effective it works.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. The chlorination, I wanted to touch a little bit more on now. Chlorination. In what situation, and I hope you mentioned the one that I have,
Right.
what situation is it that you would need something like a chlorinator? I call it a chlorinator.
Right. Because, there's two different types of chlorinator. There's the liquid chlorine injection and then the pellet chlorine injection. The liquid chlorine injection is effective to oxidize sulfur and iron into a solid so that it can be filtered out. The solid chlorine injection Sentry system that you have, that one will treat methane, which you have the bubbles in the water all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's vented out of the side of the house.
So that's not just to vent the chlorine, that's to get rid of the gas that's in my water.
Yes, that keeps it from building up and
really
igniting in your basement when the furnace kicks on or water heater kicks on.
I forgot about that, but that's okay. That's interesting.
So, yeah.
We had something here, and we'll just touch upon this because I had a big problem at my house, and this is the reason I wanted to do this episode too. Is I thought it was the water softener that wasn't doing the job. It would get this stuff. In fact, the water was turning everything orange,
right,
and rusty. And on the back of and I didn't know this, but later, but on the back of you take the lid off the toilet tank.
Yep.
And there's like a scum. There's like a film.
Slimy, snotty looking.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, what in the hell is this? And, but anyway, and you and I worked for a long time on this because I didn't understand. I was a little stubborn. I'm like, I'm not going to spend money on another contraption. And I don't know if it's going to, whatever.
Right.
And they're not super cheap, but but if you think about it in all, it's, it's worth every penny that you pay for it, and believe it, and then some. But this situation, when I drilled a brand new well here, I had to drill a well because my other one sort of went dry.
Yep. And
I remember the well driller said, "Hey man, you've got great water here." And I thought, okay, it looks clear. It's not rusty. It was very clear. And in fact, I went and got a coffee mug, a white coffee mug, ceramic mug. And we put a little of this water in there and we let it sit over the weekend. The well driller, was here Friday. He was coming back Monday and they were going to finish some things up. But we let it sit over the weekend. And over the weekend, there's this little orange bead at the bottom, probably half the size of double size of a BB. Okay.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, well, that's fine. Didn't smell, nothing, but what turned out is we had this problem with water. I had the well driller come back. I think it was like close to a dozen times to shock the well.
Yep.
And they weren't even sure what was going on. They said, man, this should, whatever. We shock the well, it'll kill any bacteria. They thought it was, and it didn't work. And I tried a different softener, water softener, because it ruined my water softener. I tried another water softener.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. And I'm like, John, in the meantime, I had you come out.
Right.
And I said, hey, man, what's going on with the water? And you did that. The water would come out milky. It looked like white, milky water. And then within about, 3-4 minutes, it would clear up. But in the meantime, there was gas bubbles in there.
Right.
And that's what made it milky?
Right. Yep. The methane gas bubbles.
Okay, so methane gas bubbles. And because I remember you tried to light it.
Yep.
And I think you said it burned a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, eventually then we got to the point you said, hey, look, this chlorinator thing that I've told you about, last time,
Yep.
A year, 2 years prior.
Right. It was a while to get you convinced.
And you said, that'll take care of it. I said, man, are you sure? You said, I'm sure.
Yep.
And I said, okay, well, I went and robbed the bank. No, I'm just joking. But so here's the thing. I didn't quite understand what was going on here, but there's a name for that. Yeah. And what is the name of that situation, John? What was going on?
Well, you kind of had methane in your water.
Yeah.
You had bacterial iron.
Yeah.
Some people call it organic iron.
Okay. Iron oxide, is that the name that?
Well, that's the actual iron.
That's the actual iron.
Yeah.
Okay.
The iron bacteria feeds off of the actual iron in the water.
Okay.
And that causes the slime in your toilet.
That's the iron oxide then. Or no?
No, that's the bacterial iron.
Okay, that's a bacterial iron. Okay.
Yeah. And then the bacterial iron was given off a foul odor. It wasn't a rotten egg odor, but it was just a foul odor.
Okay. But that's what was going on, though. That's the whole.
That was, yeah.
So I had several issues, but
yes,
but the chlorinator took care of it. All right.
Yep.
So that's the chlorination thing. Well, let's go back to the water softeners. What different types? There's a couple different types of water softeners. Am I right?
There is.
What's the scoop on that? There's salt, and then there's the one without salt. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And I think there's another magnetic type, isn't there?
The iron remover
Tell us about
magnet.
each three. Yeah, tell us about all three of those. What's the pros and cons of each? Let's start with the conventional, what everybody knows that uses salt. Let's go there.
The conventional ion exchange system is your normal. It's the one that's been around the longest. Mm-hmm. It's the most effective. You do use salt with it. There's your single tank and your twin tank. We carry the Kinetico non-electric unit instead of the electronic metered ones. So we have no electricity in ours, but it uses salt and salt ions to pull the hardness and iron ions out of the water. And then from there, you go to your saltless systems. They're a scale inhibitor. They're not actually a softener.
Okay, so what does that mean? What is a scale inhibitor?
It pulls some of the calcium and lime out of the water,
okay,
but it won't do anything for the iron. So you're still going to have rust stains. You're still going to have the white buildup on all your fixtures, on the sinks and glasses and all that.
So you're going to need an iron filter for that then.
Yep.
And on top of it, okay.
And then, like I said, even after you do the saltless system, then you do the iron filter, you're still going to have that white buildup because you're not getting rid of all the calcium and lime in the water.
Okay.
And a lot of people are not happy after they purchase them because they were told it was a softener. Well, it's not.
It's not.
It's a scale inhibitor.
That's interesting because when I've seen the ads, they said water softener.
Yep.
So they kind of represent that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we deal with it a lot. And I personally, I've told, I don't know how many customers, we have it. I can get you as many of them as you want, but I won't sell it to you because it doesn't do what you want. And then you're going to call me in 2 weeks, a month, and be like, hey, this isn't what I wanted.
Right.
What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
I warned you.
Yeah.
So I just tell them straight up, I won't sell it to you because it's not going to be, you're not going to be happy with it.
It's not what you need.
Yeah.
It's not going to do what you need. Yeah.
Yep.
So the magnetic type, now I've seen those advertised too. What's that all about? What happens there?
Some of them, actually use actual magnets. Other ones wrap a wire, 30 foot of wire around your copper pipe, and it's supposed to attract and collect the hardness and iron to that spot. And like I say, it's supposed to collect the sediment right there.
Yeah.
You can put that on for 5 years, cut that pipe open. It's going to look like it does 30 feet down the line.
Let's talk about this iron filter for a second. Are there any problems when you get iron filter? Are there any problems that you encounter with those units? What happens? Or they just let them set them once and they're good forever?
Well, with the iron filters, you will have your timer on it, so you're going to have to check that periodically to make sure it's set correctly still.
Okay.
And you have internal seals. You're filtering rust out of the water, so it's going to chew up them seals over time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's rubber seals, and you're dragging a piston through there with rust buildup on it, so it'll chew them up.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then the media over time inside that does the filtering, it'll fill up with iron because it can only flush out so much so many times before it just gets overloaded.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it's usually 7 to 10, maybe 12 years before you have to change that media.
Okay.
So
now, how about the seals in the top? How often do you have to take those and have them replaced?
The seals, depending, if it's just using it as an iron filter, them seals will last 5 years or better.
Okay.
If you're doing it with chlorine injection, you're going to change them seals 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so that chlorine shortens the life of those little rubber.
Yep, it just chews them up.
Somebody told me that those, if even what is it, even the tiniest hair gets in there somehow from something, and then I'll ask you how that happens, but that can make those malfunction. Is that right?
It can, because there's like the Kinetico systems and even other brands, they're so dialed in, so precise that a human hair can cause salty water on a softener, can get in there and grooves that seal on the iron filters over time, and then you've got a little seep leak and it doesn't filter right anymore.
Interesting. Hey, I'm going to bring up one other thing. When I used to use these little chlorine tablets, discs, I guess we'll call them, in the toilet.
Yep.
In the toilet tank, and disinfect your toilet. Everybody's, because we listen to too much damn advertisement. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to sell their stuff, and I get it. But there's a problem with those.
Yes.
And what I noticed was my toilet was leaking. I put a brand new flapper, whatever you call those things, seal in there kit. Yep. And it wasn't very long after that, maybe a month. And I noticed, and I started using this, I noticed a leak, and then I replaced it and put a new rubber flapper thing in there.
Yep.
And within a month of doing that, I had another leak. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And so eventually I found out, this is a long story short, but I found out that the chlorine eats that rubber, just like you were talking about with the seals on the iron filter, but it eats that rubber. It degrades the rubber. So the seal, there's not a good seal there anymore, and that will leak water, little trickle. Now here's the thing where you come in. What happens when you're trickling water with the system? Because I had no idea this. I'm like, wait, what?
Yep.
So
if you have a slow leak, a drip, anything under a quarter of a gallon a minute, that is going to lead to hard water. You can have a $500 water softener, a $500 iron filter, or a $50,000 softener. Anything under a quarter of a gallon a minute is going to cause you hard water.
Wow.
Because it's so slow, it doesn't get filtered through the media bed.
So that's what's going on.
Yep.
Wow. Is it really a $50,000 water softener?
Oh, yes.
Are you making that up?
No.
What, really? Who makes a $50,000? I don't even want to know.
Right. If you got to get up to that point, you got some serious water issues.
You must have.
So, yeah.
My God. Well, speaking of that, okay, so what type of situations would limit or maybe even prevent, and yes, I'm reading this, prevent you from treating someone's water?
Really, the only thing that would limit us is the way the plumbing in the home is set up. If we can't get to the plumbing or get a drain ran from it. And that's usually going to happen when you're on a slab and they didn't plan ahead for water treatment.
So, okay, so the concrete slab, you wouldn't be able to put, what type of things would you have to put in that situation? You'd say, we just can't do it.
But yeah, if we can't, get to a drain with a drain line or something, you either got to go get the homeowner to approve just drilling a hole through the side of the house
and then pump it outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've done that a few times, but it's not ideal, but it'll work.
But it works. Okay.
Hardness and iron, depending on your, we can treat any amount of hardness and iron. It's, how much space you have available and how much you want to spend, because, we've got people that are running 120 grain hard water. It's like a rock coming out of the sink.
What does that mean? 120 grain? Give us a comparison. What's a normal?
The city of Princeton is 14 grains, give or take.
Okay.
City of LaSalle is 28 grains.
I knew they have a lot. Yeah, it's not as good as Princeton water. I lived there once. Yeah.
So yeah, and so that's
you could
about
be
a basic area.
So you're talking about what this other situation was? How much again?
125.
Holy smokes!
So yeah, so we're way up there, but we treat it. It's a single softener, takes care of it. They don't have any issues.
Okay.
Iron, we can treat. I've treated personally 18 part per million. Anything over a half a part per million of iron will cause staining in your sinks.
Really?
Yeah. So
holy,
when you get up to that, 6 part per million is pretty rough stains. But when you get up above that, it can be pretty gnarly. But we can treat it as long as you have the space available for the equipment. So
you can go through concrete walls, you can go through brick walls, you can go through anything in like someone's basement if you have to pipe some things.
Yeah, we can drill through about anything.
Anything's possible.
Yep.
Has there ever been and this is your wife's question, an excellent question. Has there ever been, she's with us here today, she's just not on camera.
Right.
Has there ever been water so bad that you couldn't treat it?
Not yet. I did have one customer that didn't have the space available to treat it. So he ended up selling his home and moving because he didn't want to deal with it.
Really? So someone just moved because their water wasn't able to be, or situation wasn't good enough to, it wasn't ideal enough to treat them. Wow.
Yep. He ended up, like here, your house, I think you're around 4 or 5 part per million of iron.
Okay.
His came out at 88 part per million.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah. That was the worst water I've ever seen.
Wow.
To treat his residential, he would have needed a commercial iron filter that was 36-inch diameter and 7 foot tall. He just didn't have the space for it, and he didn't want to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, that's expensive.
He just moved.
I mean, I don't know if a new house is cheaper than the iron filter, but still,
right?
Yeah. Holy smokes. That's amazing. I mean, but a commercial iron filter.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to tell you, in everything, my water has been, you've treated everything. And I had some issues. Hey, John, come back. We need to adjust. Chlorinators do need to be adjusted and tailored to your, am I right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. And any filtration at that matter, softeners or chlorination or just plain backwash filters, they need adjusted because each house is different. Each water is different. We'll have people, I'm only, 100 feet from my neighbor, and his is fine.
Well, why is that? What's going on there?
There's so many different aquifers underground that depending on where you drill, there could be, a wall between 2 aquifers.
That close.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can drill 30 feet apart. I talked to well people and they're like, you can do 30 feet, same depth to completely different water.
That's so weird.
And then, over time, the ground shifts, the water levels change, your water concentration levels change. So you have to adjust for that.
It's weird. You say that, and it just reminded me that in drought years, years that we don't have a lot of water, my water, and this is why we recently had to adjust my chlorinator. At least I believe so. And you
Right.
probably okay. Was we had a really dry year last year. I think we were in drought stage.
Right.
I think we actually were technically. The water changed. It actually needed more chlorine.
Yep.
Intensity,
Injected
whatever. Yeah, injected. And so that can happen. Now, when the water, if we get, can I expect to reverse it reverse it, do it the other way if we get a normal water year? Is that kind of how it works?
If we get a heavy rain year or, a lot of snow, that can raise the water levels underground, and that'll dilute that concentration of contaminants again. So then, you could reduce what you're using.
Interesting. So that's kind of an ongoing, it depends what's going on in your, now, but I know it takes a while to reach, the underground, we're all dry up here on top, but that water table down below the earth or below the surface still is affected by things like that.
Yep.
Drought or flood too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you're in an area that's got a lot of farmers with irrigation systems, that'll change it because they pull a lot of water fast for each one of them irrigators.
Oh, really?
Some of them are designed for, they're big systems. So it sounds like it's a lot of water, but when you're running, 100 foot of pipe that's feeding water out every 6 inches, some of them will pump 1,000 gallons a minute. Well, if you got 5 square miles that got 15 of them, oh my goodness, the amount of water you're pulling out of the ground. That's going to take that time to filter back down.
And that can affect everybody in that area, really.
Yep. Anybody that's hooked into that water table can throw it.
I did not know that. This is the first time I ever heard that.
Yep.
I'm a little angry about that right now, just thinking that, yeah.
Yep.
Hey, farmers, just let the rain. Let God
Right.
let God take care of you. Don't be anyway.
Yep.
I'll be in trouble for that statement. I don't care.
Right.
Are there any health concerns with untreated water that you know of?
Oh yes, definitely. There's a lot of different things in water that can affect everybody. And I don't want to say this as scare tactics are not my thing. I hate scare tactic salesmen.
Yeah.
But some water will have arsenic. Some water will have lead, bacterias, severely high nitrates can cause problems. There's just a multitude of things in your water that can cause all different sorts of health issues. So, yeah.
We were talking along those lines. We were talking about the reverse osmosis. Yes. What are all the things that can be filtered out from reverse during the reverse osmosis process? Yeah.
There's a whole magnitude. Again, that's a huge list. But the better the RO, the better the filtration. You can get your standard, Menards ones, or you can work your way up to higher, better ones. They will pull bacterias, viruses, cysts, pesticides, herbicides, paint residue, plastic residue. It's several hundred things of the water that it'll pull out. Another one that people are getting big into studying about now is the PFSAs.
What's PFSA?
It's forever chemicals. They're byproducts of plastic manufacturing and metal and all that.
Yeah.
And, they've been around since like 1940. But they're just now in the last few years realizing the side effects of it.
These are the microplastics, am I right?
Yes.
So my wife is like into that whole thing, the microplastics and how bad that is.
Yep.
So there, and okay. Now, does my RO system have that type of filter?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Yep. Your K5 has where it'll filter out the PFAs.
Interesting. And even like you said, I think this was like the heavy metals.
Yep.
There's another filter for that too. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. If you have arsenic, we can put a filter in our K5 to remove the arsenic. And yep.
It's interesting. We always think we live in an area where, we're not polluting our waters, but there's a lot of stuff in there.
But that's the thing, that groundwater, it travels. There's aquifers that go clear down to Springfield from underneath of us.
Oh, wow.
So, Lake Michigan goes underneath of us. The old Illinois River goes underneath of us.
Really, the old Illinois River.
Yep.
I've never heard that before.
Yep. So there, that water, it's traveled
Wow.
long ways. So you never know what's in it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then, so when you're camping, this relates to my other show. When you're camping and you're just drinking out of this stream, and even if you have, we have an ultraviolet filter,
Right.
or ultraviolet treatment, and we have a sediment filter, and I think it's 0.05 microns. You still could have microplastics or heavy metal or stuff like that in there. Am I right?
Yes.
Or
Yes, you
arsenic.
definitely could.
So you're not filtering any of that out with those two things.
No.
That's interesting.
You're making it better, but yeah, it's still not great.
Interesting. John, if your water, and you did talk about this, you mentioned it earlier, if your water has a smell, how do you get rid of that?
You can say there's different smells. Your bacterial,
The
organic
rotten
iron.
egg thing, I think, is the most common, isn't it? About what you hear
the
more?
rotten egg, the sulfur odor.
Mhm.
If it's not a bad case of it, if it's a low level, you can do a filtration system, just a backwash filter that'll filter it out.
Such as what? What type of backwash filter are you talking about?
Well, you'll have a backwash control and a tank, and you'll have like MTM media or green sand plus media, filtrag media.
So that's not just a regular water softener. That's
a whole separate unit.
a whole separate unit.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if you got really higher amounts, then you're going to need chlorine injection and then filtration to get rid of it.
Kind of like what I've got.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. All right. And there's one other thing I want to ask you before we close up here. What pressure? This is pressure versus volume. So here's what I'm talking about. So I've heard people say, "Yeah, I turned up the pressure in my shower, so my shower really didn't have enough water coming out of it. And I turned the pressure up, so I got more water." But that didn't really help. And I mean, maybe a little bit, but it really didn't do much. Why is that, John? What do you need?
Well, you take a 1/2-inch pipe, you can put 100 pounds of pressure behind it, but you're still only going to get 1/2-inch pipe water flow. You're going to
So the
have
volume, you're saying?
Yeah, if you up that to a 3/4 or a 1-inch pipe, that 60 pounds of pressure is going to push more water through a bigger pipe. So you're going to have more volume, but you'll still have pressure.
Interesting. So it's not about pressure necessarily. I mean, pressure too,
Right.
But you need the volume to provide the water.
Yeah, if you don't have the amount or the volume of water, you can do everything there is, and it's not going to matter because the water's not getting there.
Well, it does make sense, right?
Right.
Interesting. The big question, and I have to ask this. It's just because. What type of costs are we talking about here for each of these type of things? Like, let's just go with a softener real quick. I mean, what's the range on a softener, or do you even want to give us one?
I'll give you a basic range because, each softener is a little different. Each house is different.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't say, this amount is going to cover everybody.
Exactly.
But as long as you do your due diligence and check into, what's in your water and what size will actually work for your house the best.
And you guys take care of that. You test.
Yep.
Okay.
We come out, we test your water. We look at where the softener would go, get you a couple recommendations before we ever get into pricing, just so we know what'll work best, because we don't want to put something in and then come back out because you got bad water and be like, oh yeah, this ain't big enough. It's going to cost you more money now.
You guys are very good about that. Yeah. Very good.
I try to take pride in making sure it's done right, because without the customers, I wouldn't be having a job.
Yeah.
So if they're all mad at me, they're not going to call me again.
That's true. That's true.
So we can customize different systems to different people, but as long as you do your checking around, check with us, check with other companies. It doesn't matter how many you check with, but do your diligence. You can get, softener, a decent, adequate softener starting around a couple $1,000s, and then, you could easily get up into several thousands, tens of thousands, depending how well you want it treated and what all is in your water.
Yeah. The $50,000 Rolls Royce one, right? Yeah.
That you're going to need, you're going to have some really, really bad water.
Right. How about those? How about you mentioned the iron filter? How about the iron filter?
The iron filter, again, there's several different styles, sizes. Again, you could start a little over $1,000 and then go on up.
Okay.
We do payments. Other companies will do payments sometimes. So it's not you don't have to write a check for everything all at once. It makes it a little easier.
How about these in a reverse osmosis? I think those are pretty. You can find those pretty much anywhere, but they're not terribly expensive, are they?
No, yeah, ROs aren't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get them at Menards and Home Depot, Lowe's. Then water treatment specialists. So ours will, us and other competitors will have better equipment than box stores, but yeah, you can get them anywhere.
People might say, well, I use one of those Brita filters or whatever brand. There's several different. Brita is just the one I happen to think of. I've seen the commercials on their faucet to filter their drinking water.
Right.
I'm sure they're fine, but a reverse osmosis system is way more complete.
Right.
As your
we'll definitely filter way more out with an RO than them faucet mounted filters.
How about the chlorinators? Well, let's go to the ultraviolet first, because those aren't terribly expensive, are they?
No, the UV light setup, there's multiple sizes, again, depending on how big your house is and all that. But yeah, they're not bad to cost wise. And
if those kill bacteria, that may take care of a bit of a smell in your water as well, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that the first thing you'd lean toward with the smell in your water, is maybe an ultraviolet, or would you go elsewhere for that?
Well, first I'd, like say, get a test.
Yeah.
Well, test the water and see what's in it.
Okay.
So you know what kind of bacteria you're dealing with.
That'll tell you. Okay.
Yeah. Because if it's E. coli or coliform, then UV light will be more than sufficient for that. Okay. But if it's something else causing the odor, then you may need to up to the chlorination injection. Speaking
of chlorinators, that was my last one. What does a chlorinator cost? That's a little bit of an investment, isn't it?
They are. The liquid chlorinators are cheaper than the pellet chlorinators. You're a few $1,000s on them, and you can get up, on the bigger ones, you can get 15,000 on the big ones.
Wow. Yep. That's getting up there. There's another method that I just heard about recently. It's very expensive though. And it's the same type of method that they use they have them for washing vegetables. They have them for doing the air, ozone, that type of method. What do you know about that? And what do you think about that?
We've done a little bit of it. We haven't had to do very much because the water around here isn't that bad. Mm-hmm. When it's needed, it is a very adequate, good system to use.
I've heard it's expensive though.
It is.
Yeah.
Because, you got to inject that, and it's a big deal to use it, but
yeah, absolutely.
So you got to keep your maintenance cost over time involved in all that too. And some people wouldn't think of that. Well, we buy it, it's good, it's man-made. Yeah, it can fail.
Everything takes maintenance, man. There's no set it and go and you're good forever. Right. I thought there was, and I'm sadly disappointed in that, but yeah. So, all right. Well, that sounds good. John, how do we get a hold of you? And you are with, again, I'm with Lee's Water, Princeton.
Yep. Lee's Water out of Princeton. We have a Superior Water office in Peoria, but our Princeton office, you can call us 815-875-2506. You can email us at the office. It's leeswater@connecticutpeoria.com. And we can get you taken care of either through the phone or through the email.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And I personally had personal experience and couldn't recommend you high enough. You're just, everything you've done for me has been awesome. And I'm kind of a picky guy, as you know, and
just a little bit.
Yeah. No argument about that. but I'm very, very pleased, very happy. And so I highly recommend you guys. And, can't say enough about you. So, all right.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. John, thanks for being here today. I hope, people enjoy this episode and you've learned a little something about water and your problems with the water, how to deal with those problems. Okay. So,
Right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. And thanks again for watching.